Love my country, and I'll never be disloyal. No matter where I go, I'll always honor you. Una vez we don't go, let's forget Salo. Una vez we come back and make Salo. Salo na let you. Salo ya lo va bien. Salo ni va to the moon. Salo cabi.
Okay, Fambulem, a warm good evening to all. I will sweep the floor one more time with the song, Let Me Sweet Salon, obviously, for clean the floor, wipe the floor, while I give you all chance for you to invite friends and families, sympathizers, whichever way you want to call it, to come on this one show. I got a few announcements to make, and I promise you that this is going to be short. Of course, you see the topic very interesting, which is on insecurity, which we're going to be discussing today. We're going to zoom our lens on the West African Republic of Sierra Leone, but at the same time, as usual on this channel, we're going to widen the scope, probably involve other countries a little bit, but it's basically going to be on the Republic of Sierra Leone. And like I said, maybe we might weigh in on another country or two within the scope or context of internal insecurity in some countries. But primarily, it's Sierra Leone today. But like I said, today, the 9th of December, I'm wishing you all a happy Christmas. But like I say, invite friends and families just before I kick off, and I promise you that this is going to be short, hopefully 30 minutes, 45 minutes at most. But let me sweep the floor one more time with the song of the night by Lady Rosalind Strasser King. We own no copyrights on these songs. We just play it for the sake of the channel. Thank you. Yes, indeed. What a beat. And I know some people are stomping their feet already. And of course, you can't resist the beat of a good sound. That was Lady Rosalind Strasser King with I Let Me Salute. The song played particularly because of the occasion, the moment, and to the audience. I want to recognize a few people quickly. Of course, familiar faces and some first-timers. Julia Rogers, Alassane Fofana, Santigi Sise, Ramza Yansane, William Walbach. Bill, how you doing? Welcome to the program, my brother. Thanks for watching. I will be bringing you soon on this channel because there are things for us to discuss, crossing borders. This channel is not only zeroing in on a particular country. It's not only zeroing in on a particular region. It's not only zeroing in on a particular continent, but it's wide, it's deep, it's got depth, and those who know knows. But welcome to the channel, Bill. I hope the family is doing well. Merry Christmas to the family. Patrick Lansana, Reg Koroma, Solomon, Medicine Mansari, Mary Kaba, a familiar face. Thanks for watching, Mary, and the rest of all of you. Please invite everybody that possibly you can and share the video. Also, don't hesitate to leave comments. This is how we learn what we are doing and how we are doing what we are doing. So if there are places for us to improve, we will try to improve. Once again, welcome to the Then and Now channel. Today, the 9th of December, I'll make one quick announcement and we go straight into the business that we are here for, which is to talk about the state of insecurity in the Republic of Sierra Leone. And potentially we might be weighing into other countries as well, because it's a general state of insecurity. That's why we are going to be looking at this from different levels, from different fronts, as we set the premise for this evening. Because the state of insecurity sometimes is not only internal, it can be external as well, porous borders, but I'll come to that in a minute. Quick announcement. Some of you may be aware already, and some of you may not. For those of you who are not aware, and also for those of you who are aware, we want to reinforce the message, okay? This announcement is about the celebration of the 1-year anniversary of this particular forum. 1 year ago, just a few days from today, will make us exactly a year that we started this business of social media, owning something that has become global. We are not where we want to be yet, but slowly indeed, we are getting there because we are determined. This is the power of this determination. This is the power of perseverance. This is the power that once you are motivated and determined to do what you want to do, no matter what the obstacles are, they can't stop you because you always find your way around them. And this is what we've done here. And this December 15th, that's specifically the 15th of December, beginning at 4 p.m. We've advertised already. Those of you who are in Europe, the wider Europe, the UK in particular, we've invited all of you to come so we can have a conversation about social media. The opportunity that this has given us, which we should be using wisely, as I believe we've been doing on this channel. That's why we are here, there, and there. Okay? It is not about the journey. It is about the destination. I want you people to take this down and note this. It is not about the journey, specifically here where I'm speaking from. It's rather about the destination that we want to get to. This is where we are focused. So regardless of the in-betweens, we are focused on where we want to go, and we are heading there bit by bit. So we are inviting all of you on December 15th to join us in a workshop, seminar, and celebration of 1 year of perseverance of this very channel, Then and Now. Then and Now, I want to wish everybody that is watching here tonight a Merry Christmas in advance, and of course, a Happy New Year. Okay? Now, let's get into the real business of insecurity. What I have got to say here tonight is, and this is a general definition in terms of a state and a government. The first priority, I repeat, the first priority of any nation state vis-a-vis the government, because the nation state exists and there is the caretaker known as the government of the time. Governments come and go, but the people remain. But the government is in charge. Therefore, the most important thing of that government, first and foremost, is the security and sanctity of the state which it governs. And by default, its people. We can't make that any more clearer than I've said, and this is a fact. This is not an opinion, it's a proven fact that the first and foremost priority of any government is keeping the security and the sanctity of the state together, and by default, of course, the occupants of the state, who happens to be we, the people. Okay? When a government keeps the security of the state, or the sanctity of both of the state, what this does is underscores the significance of what you would define as a good governance. Okay? And in particular, the country I want to speak of today, which happens to be Sierra Leone, the people of that country, as in all countries for that matter, all they want is a corrupt-free society. Okay? And the government needs to assure the people, or needs to provide some guarantee that there will be a government which will be at least corrupt-free. I'm not talking about 100% because that's difficult, and we all have come to accept this. but at least it should aspire to be corrupt-free, because when it's corrupt-free, it promotes good governance. Good governance affirms security of the state. Now let's look at the insecurity that we promised to talk about today. I want to look at different facets of insecurity. Jeremy, Victor, Sango, Buya. That's another man I've got to bring on this show. There's so much that we've got to discuss. So much. There's something powerful coming up on this channel, which we want to talk about. I'm collecting data. I've collected enough. I am trying to get relevant people across the continent, more specifically West Africa. And that's the rebel war. It cannot be swept under the carpet. Well, I beg to digress. Let me go on to my point. But Jeremy, welcome to the program. So I want to look at the state of insecurity, or security for that matter, from different facets. We already talked about it. What is it? What does the government need to do? Although I haven't, yet dealt with it in its entirety, which I will try to do. But as you've seen in the caption, we will attempt to look at what it is, what is causing it. And that's what I was just speaking to earlier. But that's one part of it. As I said, I want to talk about the different facets of security and what causes insecurity. Of course, corruption is one significant thing that causes the state of insecurity. That's when you're talking about on a national level, or probably even on an international level. Corruption, as we know it, it causes a state of insecurity. So when we talk about the state of insecurity in Sierra Leone, the first thing that comes to mind is corruption. So you've got political insecurity, you've got economic insecurity, social insecurity. All of this can lead to one thing, but there can be different dimensions to it, because insecurity can also be as a consequence of a lower level or lower threat of security, which can be some social disorder just to one part of the country. Let's say the high rate of unemployment of youths can cause social unrest. But the government can largely contain it to one side of the country, which can be almost like the forgotten, I use that in inverted commas, the forgotten side, like in Sierra Leone, for example, the capital, Freetown. Largely, these things are consigned to the eastern side of Sierra Leone. There can't be any denial of this, because the western side of Sierra Leone, we know, is the affluent side of Sierra Leone, where law and order largely is kept. Whereas the eastern side of Sierra Leone is largely neglected, and that's where you find potential in most sides. So many, many troubles. Thanks, Brother Emso. Somebody's just told me about volume. Thank you very much. Is the volume okay? Brother Emso, is the volume okay? Brother Emso, let me get a thumbs up or a Y for a yes if the volume is okay, please. Is the volume okay, please? Is the volume okay? Somebody just said that there is no volume. Goodness, no volume. How can there be no volume? Do we have volume, please? Audience, will you confirm, please, whether we've got volume? Is there volume? Can you hear me, audience? Audience, can you hear me, please? Any volume now? All right, I was just speaking earlier on. Let me try to see whether I can sweep the time with Sister Rosetta King while I wait, here for the audience to tell me whether we've got volume. Okay? Whether we've got volume.
Sweet, sweet salad. Sweet salad. Oh, let me salad. Oh, let me salad. Now fine country, now sweet country. If only we unite.
Is there any volume?
If only we can love one another. If only you can change your attitude. East, west, north, or south. Let we like we suck and then see feeling back to you. Let we like we stand. Beautiful nation, beautiful country. Oh, let me salute. Oh, beautiful.
Do we have any volume? Is there volume now, please? Let me know quickly. Is there volume, please? It seems like there's an issue with volume. Let me see whether I can switch channel quickly because we have to do this broadcast. Okay. We definitely need to do this broadcast. Okay, so there's volume, but it is low. Is it any better now, Brother Enzo? Is it any better? I know there are echoes. Is it any better, Brother Enzo? Volume. Is it any okay now? Is it louder? It's okay with the music, but not, why is it okay with the music? Right, let's have a look here. Okay. It's okay with the music, but not, why? Is it any better now, Brother Enzo? My audio, is it any okay now, please? Let me just get confirmation. Let me put this aside. Ladies and gentlemen, I just need confirmation whether my volume is now okay in terms of my audio. Okay, while I'm waiting for confirmation regarding my audio, let me see whether I'm going to continue with the broadcast. Okay, let me see whether I'm going to continue with the broadcast. Okay, so I can get my feedback live from my feedback camera. So it seems like my audio is okay, but on the backup channel, I know you're sort of slow. The loop is slow. All right, no worries at all. Let me go ahead and just do what I was trying to do. And so I was talking about the issue of insecurity in the Republic of Sierra Leone. Okay, so these are the potential things that can create a state of insecurity. We need to understand the significance of good governance in a country, that this promotes the security of the state. I said from the beginning of this program that what a government needs to do, or its first priority, is the protection of the state. Keeping the sanctity of the state together is really, really important. Okay? Very, very important. And I'm sure my audience are getting me now because I see Jalo join, Emma Lansana joined. Okay, so I'm still having an issue with my volume, I'm being told, but I've adjusted it, and I don't know why. Why is it? I don't know why is it, but somebody was just complaining that my volume has got a kind of a problem. But like I said, I'm just going to go ahead with this, and I'm sure my backup will record, and I will post this later. Emma Lansanaya Jalo, my brother, welcome to the program. I hope you've got my invite to the 1-year celebration anniversary. It's okay now. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so I've just been given the nod up that my volume is okay, so I can fire. Okay? So what I was talking about is the state of insecurity in the Republic of Sierra Leone. There's been much that's been said about insecurity. Insecurity did not start after the end of the APC government. It did not start at the beginning of the SLPP government. This has been ongoing in the history of our country and has taken different dimensions. But I'm equally saying that every government that we've had, every government around the world, no one is exempted. The first priority of any of these governments is the security of the state, and by default, its people. It's got an absolute obligation to protect its people. But unfortunately, in the country, there's been many stories, many. We know some of them are propaganda. We have to be real, but we know some of them are real. But we have to be real to ourselves. by identifying what these problems are, why are they happening, why they shouldn't be happening, and probably when we have this conversation and try to reconcile and be real with the issue, then maybe we can get around this. Because further than that, it's going to be a vicious cycle, and for now, this is exactly what's been going on. We cannot mince our words, here with that. We know that Sierra Leone is poverty-ridden. It's a poverty-ridden country, okay, where the disparity of wealth between the haves and the have-nots is wide. There's been some significant difference lately. When I say lately, I'm talking about of course, it started under the Second Republic from Pakaba's government. There were structural adjustments and programs leading up to the All People's Congress government of Ernest Koroma, where wealth was created for the middle class. So you see a lot of Sierra Leoneans can afford, first of all, high-end value goods, such as laptops, smart mobile phones, and the rest of it, okay? So, of course, wealth was being created. These are things that we need to reconcile with and accept and ask ourselves the question, why is it happening? Because that's what I want to talk of. But these are the kind of things that when poverty is in the country, rising inflation, high unemployment rates, especially among the most vibrant in the society, who happens to be the youths of the country, over 65% of them unemployed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's be real. Where do we expect that energy to be channeled? There's nothing constructive, can be done because the opportunity has not been provided to you. So these people were not born as such to make trouble. It's not a mental problem that they were born with. It's as a consequence of the circumstances, the existing circumstances in the society in which the bosses, the rulers have become greedy, so greedy that they have forgotten about the poor, the downtrodden, the most needy in our society. So what happens is the means of surviving, you have to design somehow. And sometimes it becomes so difficult that you begin to resort into social problems that consequently affects the state. That's why the state has got a stake in this, to make sure that her citizens are employed, that provisions are made for them. That's why you see even in rich Western countries, you see the system of welfare. Because when the state cannot actually provide, gainfully employed or opportunities or solutions to these problems, in other words, creating this employment for the people, because you can't have 100+% of the society working, they create other areas for, to avoid social problems, which effectively creates security problems for any country. We sit here now, we are watching what is happening in France. It's not like these things only happen in developing countries. They do happen in developed countries as well. But this speaks to the severity of the issue, that it can happen in civilized countries, well-advanced countries, industrial countries, rich countries in the Western Hemisphere, such as what is unfolding in France, speaks to the significance of why these problems happen, and it is as a consequence of the leadership of our various countries. This is why we go back again to the premise of this program, the beginning of this program, which is the government, or every government, the first and utmost priority is the security and keeping the sanctity of the state. I repeat, by default, it's people, it's nationals. When that is not kept, this social contract between the government and her people, vis-a-vis her people and the government, this is exactly what happened. And I was trying to draw the attention of you to the situation in the country which I'm speaking of today, about rising inflation, high unemployment of people who are the most vibrant, the strongest in the society, whose energy any government would like to harness, but yet they are left in a state of despair, in a state of no hope, honestly. So they resort to violence. And we can definitely tell you that this has helped to increase the state of crime in the country, Sierra Leone. I earlier said that some of the problems in terms of crime or the state of insecurity in the country can be, addressed in different facets. I mentioned religiosity. We don't have very much of that, and that's just a good thing and the unique thing about our country, in which Muslims and Christians reside side by side, although they can have difference of opinions, but they always try to resolve it in a meaningful manner. I always say we don't have issues regarding tribal warfare. We do have the little, anecdotal evidence of differences in tribes, which every country has, but we can have those differences, but we don't allow it to go above us, which eventually resorts to unrealistic challenges like we saw in the Republic of Liberia, in which a tribal war was fought, and we know the consequence of what happened in terms of tribal war. Again, my evidence pointing to we not having a serious tribal problem in the country, is we fought over a decade of war, and that war was a civil war which engulfed the entire country. And the reason why part of the structure of the country was kept is because it was a civil war, not a tribal war. The tribal war in Liberia destroyed every facet of that society. I had a situation in which I talked to one very strong Liberian, well connected to the leadership, and we outlined that. So that's why I say we don't have that in Sierra Leone. So we can talk all the little talk, but we don't have it. So the most serious of situations in terms of security that we have is that of political difference or differences, in which partyism has become the issue of the day. That even when a party loses election, instead of consolidating her losses, do the due diligence, find out why we lost, how we lost, use that to make a strong comeback by appealing to the people. Because listen, ladies and gentlemen, the people are becoming wiser, that they can use the ballot box, because some people are still daydreaming up to today that one party did not lose the election, it was manipulated in the rest of it. But let's accept the fact that one party has lost, another party is in power. Let's get to the fact that this party that is in power has been mandated by the electorate for a 5-year term of office. So while the other party in opposition should be building up their credentials, healing whatever differences they had with the people, trying to win hearts and minds. It's unfortunate that they are doing this, but most of the people that are faced on are real lackeys and foot soldiers and henchmen, I must say this, because I just had an occurrence with one of them. What an idiot. It beggars belief that the great party of Siaka Stevens, I'm not saying that these people were saints, have got people like this, trying to make case for them. And they really think that the masses of people are stupid. They really haven't got it. But I'll save this. I beg to digress for another day. But to come back to the issue, these are the things, the political differences that we have got that is driving up the state of insecurity in the country, which is consequently having effect in the development of the country as a whole. This is just fact, it's not opinion. If you create an environment of insecurity, you don't get investors coming into your country. Or the investors that you will have coming into your country are just half-baked criminals and crooks who have just come to exploit your country. And you as a government, because you are in a desperate situation, You need money, you know, you have to run your government. You're going to be accepting these people that have come to undermine your government, use your people into the country. And what that does eventually is it just drives the state of insecurity way up there, if you like. And these are the things that need to come to an end. Okay? We can have our political differences, but we need to understand that we've made gains, that we are becoming a civilized society, that we are part of a global community, so we should conduct ourselves as such. We see post-elections violence time after time and again. And this is not new, by the way. This happened when I was a boy, and I've been around quite a while now, okay? So I can talk about this. Most vivid in my mind is 1977, when I just went into high school. Almat Academy, if you like, for some of you who don't know, who just think, you know, yeah, we meet on social media, you don't understand the background, and then you think you can just be mouthy, not using the opportunity that have been given to us in a salient way. Remember, if you don't pay for the product, then you are the product, okay? I don't intend to be. That's why I'm trying to use it in a more constructive way. If you can't stand the heat in the kitchen, leave the kitchen. Don't even bother going in there. Okay? So we are talking about reality that is affecting an entire country. This is the way patriots speak. They speak country first. Most of us have got political alliances, allegiances, if you like. But most will try to articulate their country first before their political ideology. Some of them are not even ideological. Some people don't really realize that people are becoming moderate, people are becoming wiser, that the social dynamics, the political dynamics, the construction of the political landscape has changed, and it has changed forever. Until you begin to realize this and begin to change your mindset, you're not getting anywhere. So anyway, that's one aspect of the threat to our national security. The rest are more serious, but they are just what happens in every other country around the world. We are not exceptional to this. You go petty crimes, petty theft, pickpocketing. It happens in Europe. Every day, the police are picking up people left and right. If they don't pick them up, CCTV cameras reveal, you know, your people pickpocketing. It's like a game on the computer. But it is the most serious ones that we honestly need to address. If you, the government, does not support your infrastructure, your, how do you call it, your institutions to strengthen them as a whole, the police, for example, who is supposed to police the state, you're compromising the police. This is just a recipe for corruption. That's why in a tape I made about 2 or 3 months ago, I tried to outline the case of corruption. Why corruption? The different facets of corruption. How corruption can be mitigated or even arrested. And we come into this. I mean, little wonder that I have to cite this, that Professor Lumumba was invited to Freetown. And this is the state of the corrupt mind that we've got. The political inefficiency in some of our political compatriots, you know, who are just, you know, sending shots or boxing below the belt, cheap innuendos. Professor Lumumba, a renowned world spokesperson, a seasoned academic that has spoken in places that most of us will never go very close to, or that we aspire to go close to. Long before they've heard this man's story, the usual propaganda bullhorn was out there trying to ridicule a man of high caliber. How cheap can you be? There were so many, mudslinging against this man, and the man had not even spoken. Just because a government invited him, it was a fair game. instead of us waiting to hear, so we can use that to constructively, how do you call it, dissect what he said bit by bit, line by line, paragraph by paragraph, English by English, because when this man speaks, he's so powerful, he's so eloquent, he's so prose, he's so poetic, he's so direct, he's so political. Most of us don't even understand him, okay? But he is powerful, he is seasoned. Now, when he spoke, those that condemned him long before he spoke are now hailing him. What sort of hypocrisy is this? Because he spoke his mind, and they were not expecting him. They thought because the government invited him, so he was in the pockets of the government already. We need to stop this, Sierra Leoneans. We really need to stop this. We need to rise up above the challenge. Let us be committed to state first. There are so many ways that we can explore the channels. There are so many ways that we can make our cases, and it can be heard, and we can win hearts and minds for our various allegiances or party affiliations, other than the disorderly way that we conduct ourselves, the kind of gutter politics, although all politics is gutter, but some are more gutter than others. But we need to rise up. Sorry, I'm spewing such, heat tonight, because I see this over and over, and people that you don't expect, they fall short of your expectations. And people are not idiots any longer. But back to the issue, again, back to digress, of insecurity, the state of security in the country. These are just some of the reasons. Government has got a total responsibility for the protection of its citizens. There is no compromise on that. When citizens are gunned down, when citizens are brutalized, when machetes are used against your own citizens, the leadership of that country should not be asleep until those issues are resolved. And long before they are resolved, every blood that is shed of a Sierra Leonean needs to be addressed by the leadership of that country. It should not go, unanswered. It should not go unquestioned. Why would you wake up one morning and find a body of a citizen lying somewhere, and there's no thorough investigation as to why was it? It will almost amount, like you being an accomplice, like complicity. Because if somebody died during your reign or near you, of course, if the CID was investigating that and they found a body or some body of evidence near where I live, I would be a person of interest. So why don't they do this? Why doesn't the government speak? Why don't they try to allay the fears of our people? Anyway, that's on the nature of the state that I was talking about. That what they need to address is strengthen the institutions. Stop compromising the police. Government after government, have found a way to do this. And the worst of it came as a police chief found himself in parliament. How can a police chief become a member of parliament? But let me not speak of the past. Yes, I just touched on it. But since we are moving forward and we are in the Second Republic, because that was, taken out of, operation some time ago, when the Second Republic was ushered, why don't we try to improve on that? Yes, there are noticeable improvements, but there is much more that we need to do. Who here in their right mind will disagree with this? Who here in their right mind? If you don't provide a state of security, your country that you govern will be below the indexes or benchmarks of international organizations. And as the world is now a global village in which you are supposed to be a part of, you are either ridiculed, expelled, sanctioned, or otherwise the worst, in which you are condemned to the doldrums, the bottom. And what happens is your people suffer. You know, there's a two-sided thing to the way the international community operates when they try to penalize some nations for not meeting the standards set by international organizations. I'm sure the intent is good, although there's a selfish streak somewhere in them, but the intent is good. But let's look around the logic of this, because eventually it's the people that suffer. And I believe, again, one of the reasons is to motivate the people to rise up. And I say these things does not only happen in developing countries, such as these countries that we come from, where I come from, and the country that I speak of today, but rather even in the European capitals. And I speak to the situation happening in the French Republic of France. What's happened to égalité? What's happened to solidarité? Charles de Gaulle will be rolling in his grave. They took a leader that belongs to the elite, that work for the same, bandwagon. The neo-liberals, if you like. Macron, he came from there. How he managed, or how they managed to sell it to the people, and the people bought him. And since he came, he only worked for the same elite, because that's where he came from. Showed arrogance to the people. But you see the power of the people unfolding in France. The reason why they are unable to contain that situation up till now in France is this was a spontaneous demonstration or protest, if you like, because it came about as a consequence of the people not having any more of what they were trying to shove literally down their throats. It wasn't really organized by one of these like unions and the rest of them, whom the government would have gone to try to have a sit down and talk, because that's what they normally do. These are the back channels that they use to contain protests when people are furious. No, this was spontaneous. That's why you see for the fourth week, it's continuing. And these are not tags. These are not the bottomless people in the society, it must be known. These are professional people. But it's just too much that your salary, your take home, it continues to be depleted. That what is left, if you don't have another passive income, is now a problem. Because a third of it is gone to services. Your gas bill, your electricity bill, your rent, and at the end of it, either your account is zero if you are lucky, and if you are most unlucky, there is a negative to a negative zero, and you have to start all over again. And you are just working for the state. There is no profit, because the state understands that you will fade away eventually. The state will take care of you, will give you your little price if you were paying your NIs and the rest of it. But then you will phase out. This is how the situations have been managed, and the people are waking up. And that's the example in France. And trust me, this is coming to Africa. We've seen part of it. They materialize, they brutalize their people, but it will come a time that you will brutalize them, but it will never stop, because when the people rise up, I'm talking about people's power, real people's power, you cannot contain it, and it's coming. I'm not asking people to rise up, rather I'm asking governments to wake up and smell the coffee, that the time has arrived. And pretty soon, when the people have got it up here to their neck, they don't care what bullets you've got, what guns you've got, what tear gases you've got. They will come, and eventually, how many thousands of police that you've got? And they will turn around and begin to support the people, because this is the way people's power prevail, and the people eventually will prevail. In my country, as I talk about the state of insecurity today, we need to raise our value, we need to raise our portfolio. Because the state of insecurity, as I said from the beginning, comes as a virtue or as a point of many aspects or many facets. Political insecurity, social insecurity, okay? And these petty crimes that happen. In Freetown, for example, theft can be seasonal. I talk about how one side of the country, especially in the capital, has been neglected. For a long time, gradually they are turning to it because what the government done, the past government, was try to twin the two sides of the city together again. When I was a boy, the two was one because you could go around the peninsula. But the east stood up more than the west because the east was more developed than the west. But the west became more affluent because that's how we came up anyway, even in colonial times. But as middle income, okay, got created, more middle income earners, more affordables, people started moving westwards. Okay, as opportunities grew, people started moving westwards. People started leaving the suburbs of the east because what the suburbs of the east then became known was for insecurity, because all the bad that you will find in the country, you will find in the eastern side of Sierra Leone, the eastern side of Freetown. So the governments pay more attention to the west because that's where the affluents are, and this is the way they divide society right in the middle. They take care of one side and neglect the other side. What sort of government should we behave in this fashion? So therefore, you get a state of insecurity that when you go to the east, you get mobbed, you get robbed. So I was going to say the issue of petty crime as well is also another state of insecurity that provides a state of insecurity. Because you think that they can only do it to themselves, the petty thieves, the pickpockets. But you fail to know, let's take, for example, seasonal theft. This is Christmas season. The capital city of Freetown is brimming. It's brimming with people. People going back home with friends, going back home with their fiancés of different kinds of colors and nationalities, going for the first time to introduce them home, and they get pickpocketed. Some of them lose their passports from in their very bags, okay? This is another nature of insecurity because when that person leaves, they might happen to be a stranger. They might even be a citizen that resides in another country and have just gone home out of, a feeling of emotionality, that feeling of acquaintance, that feeling, that's your home. And then you get treated as such. What sort of experience, that shock that you leave the country with? That's why a government's first and utmost priority is the security and the sanctity of the state, which keeps its people happy and secure, so its people avoid those social problems that brings unrest, that makes the place look terrible, and everything, almost everything is going on smoothly. So international investors are attracted naturally to the country because they are watching the indexes as posted out on international organizations and powerful Western governments. If you now visit the Foreign Office, the FCO, Foreign and Commonwealth Office, in other words, the United Kingdom, look on their website, the Foreign Office that puts out announcements out there about people traveling to our country. You will see, I'm not even going to repeat that, you will see what they've put there. If you check the United States Department of Foreign Affairs, which they call the State Department, they are responsible for putting edicts out there in terms of the state of security or insecurity of a country. And this is what people look at because these are serious-minded governments. These are serious countries. So people watch these websites for advice because this government provides advisory for her citizens, but other interested parties, such as potential investors, they visit the site, and from there they make up their minds as to the kind of country you are. So governments, or the government of the day, this is the Sierra Leone People's Party government led by His Excellency Brigadier Bio. I appeal to you, sir, to address this issue of insecurity, which I think you probably doing in the background, but because you don't say much and there is so much going on, and we cannot deny this, it's not me making it up. Check the website of the Foreign Office of the United Kingdom, our traditional grandfather or godfather, if you will like, by virtue or within the context of colonialism. Check the State Department website of the United States of America, the most powerful country on the planet. and check the evidence. And the evidence is not anecdotal evidence I'm giving you. I'm giving you total evidence which is available out there. Just type in, here on reputable sites, not only Google, or you can go to Google Scholar, and it gives you, because it's more reputable, it's peer-reviewed and the rest of it. Just check it up and you see exactly what I'm talking about. So this is what I speak to, and that's why I appeal to the government, that the government has to pay more attention, because I know sure enough the government is doing something, because if the government wasn't doing anything, it would be a state of chaos. But what we, the citizens, are asking is for more to be done. And what is the more to be done on a state level is, for example, I'm going to give a series of examples, because out there on the topic matter, I said we'll look at why, how, and potentially give some recommendations and advice, which I'm trying to come to in a bit. Okay? But this is important. Your police structure, the police infrastructure, come on, it's laughable. Let me talk about the police. Look, I've got great respect for law and order. I've got great respect for the Sierra Leone National Police. They're trying their level best. It's not like they are 100% clean, because, of course, everywhere in the world, the great United States, the great United Kingdom, and the rest of the developed world, they've got corrupt officers, corrupt practices, and we are no exceptions. And because of the state, in terms of economics that we find ourselves, ours is worse, because you will find police taking bribes, the infrastructure is not great enough, So even when you have a case, you have to buy your own paper. Police lack of transportation, and many more. We can address this. And this is not like things that we don't know, because many scholars have written on the situation. They've written reports, plausible reports, on the state of the Sierra Leone police, the people that are meant to effect the rules, the laws of the country. And there's so much inadequacy, there's so much infrastructural problem that is causing so much headache, that is causing the problems of the country, because the police is not effective. How then can the issues regarding security be addressed when the police that is supposed to police the state falls within that bracket of inadequacy, falls within the bracket of taking bribes, lack of logistics, such as cars, stationaries, and the rest of it? I mean, basic things that police will need for their day-to-day operation. This is serious. You see, another state of insecurity is the quality of health of your people. You see, we talk about security, the state of insecurity. That's why I said it comes in different facets. The quality, the mental state of your people, the health of your people. Structural devices or components such as your water system, your telephone system, your cable lines, all these are absent, okay? We don't have a thorough like landlines. I'm not opposing, your mobile phones, but we have, your mobile phones that we are transacting business with, but with an internet service which is poor, very, very poor, very slow. And we understood that money was being provided during the last regime for one of the fastest broadband, with, how do you call the cable, fiber optic, which is the most up-to-date technology. That was what was being afforded us, because we stand at a critical juncture within where we are located and the people that have got interest in us. Ladies and gentlemen, you only have to look at the building of the #1 country in the world, the United States of America, its embassy. This speaks volume, and I'm not going to go into this. Why is the embassy in that location with such a massive structure, with such a geographical location? And if you understand geopolitics, what is going on in the region and the wider continent as a whole and the wider world as a whole, you know where I'm coming from. But we'll leave this for another day. I beg to digress. But yes, a state, the security of a state can be kept when her people are healthy, when the most basic components of the states are totally available. Okay? Then the state will be doing exceptionally well. You have good investors, not thieves. Because these are the kind of investors that come to your country that try to cut short corners. And let me also appeal to those that have become victims of the insecurity that we'll talk about, which is also related to stealing, for example. You know, I'm talking about the threats of crime in the country, where you find from petty crimes, people pickpocketing, you know, and leaving people in stressful situations, like our regular visitors, you know, they're coming through the different ports, like other countries, the instability in the countries. I'm talking about the points of entry, that's border points, which are being used to smuggle either in or out. Our involvement in drug smuggling, which has become an international cartel. We know what happened within the last government, which is not acceptable. And now Sierra Leone is also now being known for a drug country, in which you will find, in my time, drugs that we never dreamt of, that we never ever knew. But now in Freetown, you will find how they call it, metamorphines. You will find crack cocaine. And most of them are in transit, by the way, but at the same time, they are polluting the minds of our young people. How can a country be serious? How are we going to ever get over this? This is the destruction of the very fabric of tomorrow. So are we going to have other people? Is that what we are implying by virtue of our actions? That other people eventually are going to come over and take over our country and run our countries? Because I'm sure that is being contemplated by others. And probably those that are doing it, you know, and supplying our youthful population with these drugs have got such a thing in mind. I would dare to say that. So government needs to raise her game. They really need to raise her game. If we diversified our economy some time ago and tried to make it a tourist economy that is trying to encourage tourism, which is one of the booming areas in world economy, that will bring so much deserved and wanted hard-earned forex in the country, then we need to up our game. I mean, the answer to that is simple. Just invest in your security. Just buy what the security needs. Just strengthen the laws and the institutions so that anybody found wanting in those institutions are not compromised. So don't create parallel institutions to these institutions. Once you empower them, allow the independence. This is the makeup. And ladies and gentlemen, I can't say much stronger than that. Okay? This is what we need to, you know, just do away with, ladies and gentlemen. We really need to try. But this is in the hands of government. We, the people, are just victims. And we look up to the government, you know, for the protection which they are supposed to provide for us. That is what we are supposed to enjoy by virtue of we being a citizen of the state. We have that inalienable right that the government should accord us at all times, which involves, first and foremost, protection, security. So, because of the consequences of the increment in unemployment, which is a fact, I'm hoping that the government will get over this. We'll, you know, you finally find investors. We are hearing some good words, you know, that investors are coming, money is floating in, and in the southern side of Sierra Leone, there will be huge investments running in billions. So therefore, most of the youths who are causing the problem will be, you know, in full-time employment, so they will have no reasons to be causing social unrest or problems in the country. But in the meantime, these things continue to happen. There's an increment, according to statistics, of gangs growing up in Freetown. The gangs are multiplying in Freetown. And you know what gangs do? They pose potential threat, whether in Europe, the same thing that they do here, that's what they do in Sierra Leone. In Freetown, they pose potential threat, you know, here to the sanctity of the state. Yes, they do. Because you find out that you've got an increase in criminal activities and antisocial behavior. Man go get drunk, man just holding pints in hand, just walk on somebody or boss him in the middle of the street. That's threatening. That's not called for in any civilized society. Or you get on your phone, they talk and somebody just slap you and take your phone and run. Can you imagine that experience? You are scared for life. So until these youth problems, you know, are kind of addressed, and you know, these problems will continue. You get politicians and they push the issue of ethnicity or whose tribe you belong or whose religion you belong to
or waiting on your tribal affiliation. Of course, we know politicians are doing this, and this is what I spoke to when I said earlier on that one of the most serious disorder when they happen in our country, when they lead to the most grievous of crimes, is the political crime. Where politicians then, get allegiance to their party, and therefore they compromise the sanctity of the state, provide rum and other activities there, where also they feed into the other activities they want to talk about in terms of the drug-related issues. So either give youth the drug and forget about the future consequence that they're doing, the damage to the society. This is uncalled for. If you cannot help them, don't spoil them. It's as simple as that. Pop music culture also, the damage we pick in them. And as I talked earlier on about gang-related affair, mostly you find them at the eastern side of the country. Yeah, then Kisii, then Wellington, and the rest of it. But there's much more going on there. From low petty crime to almost sophisticated ones, where you can talk about cyber crime, for example. Cyber crime, of course. People go on the internet, never mind how big the word sound is, but it can be reduced to that small thing of just signing on a computer and trying to hack people in details or sending phishing emails. That's cyber crime. Of course, people in Sierra Leone, mixed up with other foreigners we know for sure, are into this business. You get other kind of scheme them, where people they go and 419 people, potential investors, fool them. Tell them, say, they're not gold miners, or they get gold mine, or they get gold dust and things like that, and due people after of hundreds of thousands of pounds and dollars, and you name it, thereby potentially depriving government of potential investment into the country. This is why government needs to take owners of them places that they and throw the law at people when they offend, they do them kind of things they do. Because eventually, now you, the government, they lost, and then selfish people who happen to be individuals are doing these things, causing millions of others to be deprived, because when action is taken, investors don't turn up, it's the millions of people that suffer, not the single individuals who are causing the problem. But there's also an advice for potential investors. When you want to do this business, find licensed areas that are thoroughly licensed by government. Okay? Find an area so there's equal responsibility or an equal contract, or social contract, if you like, between us, vis-a-vis the other way. Mutual respect. Stop doing shady deals. You can help to mitigate some of them things there. I'm speaking to potential investors. Because either there's a potential of you trying to rob the country, so eventually you fall foul of the other people then because they prove eventually smarter than you. Or maybe potentially you're just a victim, you don't understand the government. So if you don't understand, the way it operates, look just like the countries that you would have come from. Look for licensed sources from government and deal with them. Land fraud, ladies and gentlemen, is another state of insecurity. I told you I'll be addressing all of this in terms of the different facets of insecurity in the country. So down there also they cause problems of insecurity in the country. Say the same thing when they talk about investors and when they come in the country, where they come for can invest, but the same thing that they go meet fake land dealers there, potentially with fake documents. And most times in complicity with people within government circles. So I'm not going to blame people that fall victims of this all the way 100%, but I'm asking them to be or do their due diligence, go the extra mile, because sometimes the fake documents can be so real. Because typical example, if you get somebody within a ministry who provide covers for these criminals, then it's easy for them you fall in a trap, because you will have been speaking to somebody who happens to be a government official from the ministry itself. So government, again, get this responsibility for looking to this. Okay? So these are all areas of insecurity in the country. But we bordered and porous. So government need for address the issue of immigration officers. Seriously, this is another area of some really, really serious concern where government really, really need for look at. Okay? Because if he borders them porous, then people are just they come and go as they like. Just a small goodbye, you will lose millions and millions of much deserved and looked for revenue. So if you want revenue, you get for spend revenue. Okay? What does this mean? Invest in them forces they are we're supposed to look after you other. This is what it is. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of this program soon, but another serious area now, the area of transport. You know, it's not like government any work, but we the people as well. I don't mention this word social contract many times because there's something between we and the government. Government, not to God. Government, not omnipotent, omnipotent, or potent, as some may pronounce it. In other words, they try to be the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, but they are not, because for let you be, you have to be at all places at all times. Governments actually get limited capacity and most times count on the goodness, the well-behavior of our citizens. But equally so, the government gets responsibility for providing opportunities for their citizens. So you see, it go either way. But when they ask the citizens themselves to understand government and try to raise the level of awareness and help government, and then reward them, and then regard them. So if government fail, then you can holler. The driving conditions in Africa up till now will continue for poor. There have been notable improvements, okay? But you will see then Okada them. I remember sometime, I think they don't cut that down. APC really do well at the time. You know, when a spade is a spade, call it, you know, yeah, as it is. That action when they take against Okada people was well deserved. Because that are the thing when they talk about the security of the state. Some decision when you get for make them, you get for calm down hard. These are policy decisions then, as long as it benefits the nation and her people. Okada, they drive on the opposite side of the road, they drive on top of pavement. Can you imagine? They go on the opposite side of the traffic, all in between cars. That's bad. Okada then as well as they use for snatch people and property them and make a run for it. But that feeds into the larger narrative where they talk about as well, in which people they come out from different sides of other countries, because we get reports about that, the police didn't document that. Well, they're not getting enough, you know, resources to their disposal. So they were very limited, but they knew what was happening. And in fact, they were complicit in that because we know many police officers who were also helping to buy the Okadas because it became a scheme. And they were doing like protection, almost like the mafia for these Okada drivers. So they run a scheme in which we also here we see they promote stealing. So some of the stealing will be happening in the country. Like you get tourists, then when they go work on a lonely beach, you know, them beach fronts, them. Those are activities they do, but with little lights and the rest of it. You get them people that they go hungry, and then get some police officers, unscrupulous ones, then they hide them, promote them, and provide cover for them. A mafia kind style. So government, if you intend for put a stop to this, you know exactly what to do. You know exactly what to do. So then what to carry out and they run and they overload them, you know, the vehicle MOT, as we call it now, is not properly done, you know, so that means there's no care for life. So that goes back to who side it emanates from. So therefore go now some ministry when are you the control. So why not come down hard on the ministry and make sure say they meet the benchmark them where you forsake them. That anybody will fall short, then of course you get a reason for dismiss them because you're not willing to compromise the security of your people. You cannot, okay? You cannot even keep a proper statistics on your vehicles. This is laughable. It's not funny, but laughable. Let's be honest. All the time, all kind of accidents that happen. You know, you go just sit down because of social media again. You see all kind of accidents, and then they talk about the lies because some people use them as propaganda just for call down on the government of the day. But we know the real ones then when they happen because we said get sources in Africa where they send with anything they did. So the government get responsibility. There's another issue around drink driving as well. You know, say you can't drink and drive because there are strong laws against that. Drink driving is not tolerated. So we also get responsibilities, you know, towards that. That your life be at stake. And if you drive a vehicle with others on board, there is a responsibility on your part as the driver for the protection of the lives of those people. But for them people in honor that, there is a moral responsibility on their part, but then the lawful side, the legal side there as well, when people are caught, they should come down heavy on them. And those of us that live in the diaspora, you will not go unscathed on this because most of us are violators of this particular law, and we get away with it. And I will speak to you again because we do encourage bribe, because eventually the police knows this, and we've created an access point to bribe the police, and we are not doing justice to the country. So all anything there are a serious problem. The only thing we will not escape so far is that of terrorism, the threat of terror. Okay? But we have to be careful because soon it will come. We saw what happened in Mali. And the reason why it happened is because of some of the things that I don't outline our country as well. Okay? The issue of unemployment, a large scale of the population, young people are unemployed. If Al-Qaeda or ISIS can just know and offer them people their money, which they do most of the time, these people are going to take. And then what happens is a lot of our people are killed, a state of insecurity is created, the little people that when they investigate, then go run away and left, and that's the end of it. And then we continue for suffer. Okay. So there is a real concern about this. There is the issue of the sewage as well. You know, say we not get proper sewage then. Again, this goes back to the last APC government. They tried. So this government is supposed to pick up from there, and I know they're picking up from there because I've seen several contracts. They're picking up from there. But you first of all need to give credit to the All People's Congress government for them things they did, invisible things they did that we saw, which is one of the hazards of Sierra Leone, is that particular gutter. Sorry, it's the particular gutter or sewage. But it's always going to be difficult. This I know. Because let's bear in mind that the city of Freetown, when it was created many, many decades ago, was for a few thousand people, probably 15, 20,000 people. And a post concern down the end in about 50 years' time for probably another 20, 30,000 people. So max maybe 100,000 people. Now, the population in that small square mile is over, from some moderate sources, over 1.5 million people, if not approaching the 2 million mark. Now, how do you expect the services of government to work for a city which had these infrastructures built for thousands? Now you're talking about accommodating millions. What am I talking about? The electricity grid, okay, in town. So that's why it's always going to be about management. Guma Valley, and so many others. How is it going to cope? It was designed for 100,000 people. Now you talk about 15 times that number. Okay? It's not going to work. That's all I'm saying. So the designing of better facilities might just be important. It might just be very, very important. Probably move the capital out of Freetown, left Freetown as a political capital, and as an economic capital, and take the political capital else somewhere and create jobs around that and move people. Take people and provide the wherewithal for them and take them offline and pass strong laws, which you can do back in the city. You have to provide a good run for it. You have residency in the city, okay? If you cannot fit in, you need to go back where you came from, because you could be more of use and service up there and help the country, help the government as a whole. When our government needs to enact these policies and stand by them strongly, the issue of hazards and the sewage problem is serious. We see what may happen in 2014, sometime around that. You remember the mudslide? We killed thousands of people there. You see, due to bad designs, heavy rains, now they heal them all just to construct roads, pour sewage system down. These are all insecurity, because when they come and sweep structures away, they create that menacing and eyesore photograph. And this is it. Nobody serious comes to your country to invest. We see this all the time during the heavy rains. I've visited the country before several times between the heavy rains time, April and September time. Okay? So I tell you now, these critical infrastructures, they are needed. They are needed. Look with water. I don't know whether we get Coast Guard, Mr. President. You were once a soldier and understand these things very well. Let me try for strengthening the coastline. Because part of the resources that we get, we stand out. I don't read up now some document. We did that with water. I remember some guys some long time ago. I think Ali Bangura or somebody maybe they speak for one of the junta governments at the time, which became funny, was even with mineral resources, fishes under the water, something like that. But even though it was funny at the time, but this is serious because there are other people that are after what we've got. Why can't we harness it ourselves? So why don't we invest there, Mr. President? And in investing there, we can also provide jobs for our people and money, forex, because we can export that to Western countries and provide food for our people as well. I know it's not easy to say it is one thing. To be in a chair to do it is another thing in the Donald Trump scenario, like we say. So I understand that, but we can make effort. And this goes to us, the citizens, as well, to help the government of the day, regardless of which government, for CNGC, SLPP, APC, help any one of them because we are helping our country in the end. We need to try to stop this drug trafficking because they help we at all. We country in some conduits now where people in the use them for pass drugs through. First now the northern hemisphere, then they go to the southern hemisphere. As it become difficult for them there, they found a new way. Right now we country. Not too long ago, you were some guy will bring heavy amounts of cocaine to the country. It's unbelievable that the government be there in complicity with that guy. We should not be hesitating to say this. And if you hesitate for saying that because you're in compliance with what will happen, we bring your country and your government to disrepute. That you can't even have the courage for express something where it be so disgraceful. So maybe you will eat some of the money. We also allow in maritime services for other potentially dodgy ship owners there. Use we flag for register ships. So companies where they far in the East Asian country. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this need for end. We need for find another way. Okay? So what we need now for happen, I know I've gone too far. Let me just learn quickly. Suggestions, like for example, mostly when it comes to crime, we know the people who are responsible are the national police. I'm talking about in terms of policing the crime. You can't become a source of the problem. To not become a source of the problem means the materials that you need, the infrastructure, the wherewithal has to be created. So we don't say we police, unfortunate. They not get waiting the need for carry out waiting they're supposed to do. They not get vehicle for transport them. Paper, stationery, for the police write their reports. It's not available. 21st century. 21st century. And no actions have been taken, but more needs to be done. You see, this is one area where quick investment needs to be made. You can't compromise this because an assessment should have been done, comparing the crime rate, doing your due diligence, counting the population, you looking at the hot-bedded areas. What is happening? What do you need the police for? What are the crime areas? Looking at the statistics, looking at the reports, commission reports, and thereby you will be able to come along with a budget from your finance office for determining how much your police will need for go further. Mr. President, I challenge you for organize a police how you go call them commission today for writing reports. If we know say it's serious for them, we police them move on. Let them tell you what the police need and let government prepare them without delay. We can't compromise the sanctity of the state. This is a serious institution. We can't create a parallel, henchman society where we will allow other people in for the go do what the police supposed to do. Or because the police, remain in a state of inaction, so other people we get political connections can go vandalize with people and get away scot-free. Government, this is your challenge if you're listening. Okay, let me try for provide waiting with people, because when I begin the show, I talk about with doctor them, I talk about the standard of we health. A healthy nation is a vibrant nation. We're able to be very productive. But a sick nation, of course, is a dying nation that has nothing to offer to the world, and nobody knows you. So therefore, something needs to be done. So, Papa government, they are trying to pay attention to the hospital. But it always beats me. Now, the fact say, as a country, we don't get any viable hospital option then, where if we leadership they're sick, then we'll get the mind, for go attend hospital day or send them family day, potentially for letting cure them. But rather, they will take for government money, either stealing or altogether not stealing. Because even if government did it, because they provide some false claiming, where government will get for send them abroad. So why would they use this money, for promote, some formidable healthcare for we people? Some hospital where everybody go admire, probably in the region. Once we were the anthems of education, probably we could be the anthem of medication or medical, if you like. These are not impossible things. These are doable things. But there has to be a political commitment on the part of government. There has to be. Waterborne disease is still boku with people and they die from sanitary condition. And in the 21st century, people still die from malaria and how you call them, where you get on the all that thing. People, they just do so now. With transport system, we need for continue for improvement. Okay, we need for continue for improvement. We can't allow the peace of the country for be threatened because of the kind of general lawlessness way they go on in the country as a consequence of all the things they want to talk about. The high rate of indiscipline among youthman, that general laid-back attitude, the lack of respect for law and other societal requirements, then why should this be happening? This just needs to stop. But for let it stop, there is also an obligation on the part of government. Governments do need to understand this, make provision for the people. And then when the people go foul of the law, after you've created opportunities and provisions for them, then you can come down hard on them. But for the meantime, there is a calling for let you do more. Public order, now something that can be difficult to maintain. Because I don't care what thing happen, you could still get vandalism and some other things there because it can't be 100%. Not here in Western Europe, nor in the Americas. Of course, in some places where they talk about, it's worse. So maybe we can even do better if government provide for us, because we quick for satisfy. Now work, I just believe people and want. Okay? Just work. If they use money and they work, then go stop this gun starting the way they don't begin to promote. Like for example, the United States will deport people that come out now. When they come, they're waiting and they can't do if they don't get a job. Now, so 419 and probably organized crime, now they come back. So you can see where we're coming from. So there needs to be a study to be commissioned so government will really understand what they go on and provide policies where go attack the issue there. Okay? Immigration, now other things we need for control. But the only way we go control them, now if we get a strong and vibrant immigration control system, get a physical presence, a well-equipped and well-paid border force. Because we border, let me be honest, it's just been abused. Outside government, they missed billions of loans in potential revenues. So just invest. So instead of that money, they go the other way to smugglers and the rest of it. They will come to you. And if you don't take action, it's because maybe potentially you accomplish it in waiting a bonus or somebody part of the structure of government where they derive some benefits from the. So therefore, there is some value in why one for their potentially government take action. This needs to stop. This is now another area government to say need for a commission for looking into this and then provide your answers potentially on what need for be done. You see this weak political will in past government providing strong, kind of leadership, not only centrally based, but also, the hinterland, upline, and all over the country. We're lacking now in the encourage this because of this complicity what keep they use, this allegiance, this feeling, that even some of us who are supporting some governments, we get the audacity where we see government they do wrong for prison. When they see blue, we call them white, just for satisfy the order of the day, just because we want for, let political favor be done for us. It's just simply wrong. And the end result is always nasty. Little why you see a vicious cycle of our people being hurt. Every time there is an election cycle, you see post-election violence of some magnanimity way exceed the previous. So you can always see that in the making just before that time day. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the end of this programs, and as what things the government for do, action a plan, look for solution. You need for further political will on how for implement your politics there. Your policies via Papa government. The security institution, Papa God. You need not abandon this particular institution. This institution need for coexist with you side by side or independently. Not who creates some de facto institution where you rival the police. Because you only do that for weaken the police and have a de facto kind of policing where would you be the weaken the state. Stop. Let us be let us show some political maturity and tolerance of the government. Okay. Then we continue for empowering national democratic institution then. Make we give way to independent, how you call them, stakeholders then in the society. Okay, we really need to do that. We really need to look at the interest of Parliament, understand what Parliament is, and give them back the independence. Let the three organs of state operate independently or coexist side by side when necessary: the executive, the judiciary, and the parliamentary. Any situation, any society, where professionally disciplined and allow institutions for being neutral and provide the resources for in policing of the state is actually going to be a tolerant society and a well-to-do society in which the issues of insecurity will not exist, or little of it will exist. And people that then will expect and enjoy security rather than insecurity. Okay? Let me let for play the politics around the institution. The army, for example, the army meant to be neutral. Let we let for use them on the basis of tribal line or regional line. We really need for left. The army is only there to fight for the state. These are fighters for defend the state in cases of aggression or in extreme situations, where the government cannot handle. That's potentially some crisis, some, a freaky nature of weather, like the cyclone when we need again, but like the mudslide in which the nation is overwhelmed. The national police force cannot handle it. There's general lawlessness, just like we see in France, in which the state therefore roll out the army because the police will not handle it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not much more left to say, other than we need for understand the virtues of the state, respect the state, but equally so the state needs to respect its people and provide a wherewithal for let the people there operate. Okay? You need for providing condition and there for your people. Other than that, there is nothing going to happen but problems in which there will be no direct investment, no sober-minded investment people then. Okay, broken out your country, order the same thieves, they can't undermine the country. Let us try to make a society, really, really free from too much corruption. Okay, let we aspire for good governance. Okay, let we try for set with national security goal there. We go out for let we get a free society, a free corrupt society. Or we can mitigate the actions of corruption, sure enough. Okay? That we pay attention to the people there, that we respect them, that we provide opportunities there for them. I know government gets some agriculture program because I've read it, and I hope that they will implement that, because what this provides is food and job. I'm not talking about the political side. I'm talking about the reality. That's what I'm going to talk about. Every time I talk about the tangibles. When government fail, then I go address them. Just like our APC did well in terms of road network, okay, the sewage system and other few things that they did. I commend them for that. Where it became necessary for me to condemn them because of shortcomings and the rest of it, I will never hesitate from that. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's about country first. Okay? It's about country first. A vibrant and productive private sector, control and effectively we regulate and with land management. An administration will cater to the needs of the people by first of all understanding the needs of its people. So innovative or provide can only be a very good and vibrant, or lead a very good and vibrant society in which there will be respect for law and order. Ladies and gentlemen, on this note, I want to end. But just before I end, one final time, the 1-year anniversary of this channel will be celebrated. And not only celebrated as such in an ordinary fashion, but it will be celebrated in grand style. I promise you this.
Sometimes we're late for things. We don't want.
I promise you this. Sorry for the interruption. So on the 15th of December, it's about 7 days from today, on Saturday. I'm appealing to all of you. If you've got nowhere serious to go, if it's not your child or the friend of a child's wedding, christening, a family project, and the rest of it, it's just a typical Saturday, then I'm telling you, activity on that Saturday is one to come to. Potentially, all of you that are on social media are cordially invited. Come, let's have a conversation on how to take this opportunity that social media has afforded us to go forward, so we can be able to utilize it rather than neutralize thoroughly. Remember that there's a saying, when you read the papers, when you don't read the papers, you are not informed. But when you read them or watch the news, then you are misinformed. That goes deep. This is why we need to have a conversation. When we started this project 1 year ago, there were insurmountable difficulties as we saw it then. But then we decided to persevere. We realized that perseverance was the key. And we realized that it wasn't about the journey, but the destination. And that was the most moving side of it, which really, really kind of motivated those of us that believe in this project. And as we speak now, we are global. We are not there yet, but we are getting there. We've got a few hundred people that follow us, hopefully in a pyramid sort of sense. If that multiplies, like those of you that are here now, invite and speak to others to speak or watch the channel, we are going to multiply. We've got all walks of life of people. That's why, again, the people there are speak Creole, English sometimes, and try for mix-up. Because we get a lot of foreigners then when they watch me. Patient Jonah Besnan, welcome to the program, my sister. Esther Johnson, welcome to the program. And the rest of you, different nationalities that are watching us now. In Liberia, in the Gambia, in Guinea-Conakry, in Canada, Nancy Williams, in Australia, Kabe Masako, and so many others I can't see because it goes all the way up. So Saturday, the 15th, starting at 4 p.m. You see, the event, you can still attend the event. And if you are somebody where Salomon said they will line or have got somewhere else to go and continue, because there's going to be an after party at Kalizo's, the late Kalizo Sankar. Because our program ends at 11. So we start at 4. Don't forget to be there at 4 o'clock. And let me speak about the 2 guest speakers. Yes, I almost forgot. The keynote speakers, number 1 is Dr. Justina Mutale, the most informed, the most on-demand Black female African speaker as I speak now to you, will be the one who will keynote speak at this event on Saturday the 15th. And if you watch her profile on social media and all over the world, because she's spoken at the House of Commons, she's spoken, not the House of Commons, but Parliament. But the House of Commons recognizes her, the United Nations, and the US House of Congress, the OAU, she's spoken at the African Union. She was recently invited. She's now in New York as we speak. She will be flying in shortly before our program. She will be speaking. Come and hear words of wisdom. Come and hear how she got to where she is. This is what we want to talk about. The power in you, how you harnessed it and how you use it or are using it positively. Speaker number 2 will be Mr. Roland Olubumi Hamilton, a brother and friend who is a proprietor, a successful one by many respects, who is doing business and a successful business by many respects. Both, I will advertise for him here. I have no hesitation. He owns a shop, an exclusively owned Sierra Leonean well-to-do business, which is called Mingles. Most of you will know it. I recommend it. I commend Mingles to you, the house. He also does a little loan business, how they call it, petty finance or small finance. So if you are jammed, pay the loans, talk to him. He's in a position to help. Of course, there are many other bars owned by Sierra Leoneans, which I like to talk about in my program. And you've got Francis from Cool and Cozy, one of the formidable places in southeastern London, where you can go and cool off and have good food and good drink and a pleasant atmosphere. If you want to argue politically, most times I'm there, I argue politically, so I'm all over these places. You've got IB at Waldorf Road, and many others that I would like to talk about. But that was the introduction, long before the day, of the keynote speaker, Dr. Justina Mutale, the most informed, the most on-demand, Black, African, female guest speaker will be speaking at the event on Saturday the 15th on the Then and Now program. The second is the proprietor of the Mingles Bar and Restaurant, Mr. Roland O. Hamilton. He will be speaking on entrepreneurship, how to build blogs, how to be successful, and how social media does help. But let me not speak for them because they've got what they want to say, but I'm just extending invitation to all of you. So on that note, I want to end, but let us not forget in mind, and Mr. Government, if you're listening, the state of insecurity does not help our country. Insecurity comes in many facets. Healthy and unhealthy people, okay? Let's make sure our people are healthy. When they are not healthy, that's a state of insecurity. The services provided, once they are not adequate, running water, waterborne pipes, once they are not available, electricity, if they are not available or not effective, not enough, it's a problem. The transportation, the hazards, you know, the inconvenience, Okadas, how they run about in the street. But number one on the list of insecurity is political insecurity, which is perpetuated, created either by perception or by intent, you know, create an atmosphere that become inconducive for people to operate and sometimes flares up, in which most times people get injured and lose their lives. And this has got a great effect on government. All I'm asking for is we need to rise up to the occasion and try to do mature politics. To the opposition, finally, I speak to you. Let us understand that this government was empowered by the people. I need not say this because as I look at the chat room now, full of people, and these are people I've got high respect for, but the reason why I'm saying this is like day in and day out, during my interactions with different sets of people, there are some people who just does not get it. That the people have spoken through the ballot and have chosen this government for 5 years. If you feel upset by this, you feel strongly by this, try to make your case to the people so that when the people goes to the ballot in about 4 years and 4 months time, I believe, I hope my mathematics is accurate, then probably they will turn against these people if they haven't done well. But the onus is on the people to make the judgment. And my advice to you is the people are not stupid anymore. If you don't know how to approach the people and you think the people can be taken for granted with your cheap propagandas, you know, your cheap shots, your boxing below the belt, then you are in for a sad mistake and a recurrence of what hit you in the past. Ladies and gentlemen, I think there is a time for, there's a time to laugh and a time to cry. There's a time to start and there's a time to end. And on this note, I want to say, at the end of this program right now, and the way how we start, remember we start with the song. How you like the sweet salon? So we're gonna end with it. Yes, it's been a pleasure. It's been the dinner now. I've been your host and presenter. Today, the 9th of December, Prince Emil Kroma. Don't forget, the 15th of December, on a Saturday, come and let's fellowship together. Good food, drinks. It's a kind of workshop. I will tell you now what it is. It is a kind of workshop. It is a seminar. It's also a celebration. So we look at everything we did, and then we can have a chat, like family, like people, like a community, which I'm aspiring to do, so that we can rise up together as we are supposed to fall together. But a house divided is the only one that will fall, but a house united. There we go. Thank you so much. Good night.
You find my sweet salon, beautiful people, beautiful beaches, hot sunny weather, land of gems, Lion Mountain, that's what Pedro said. Avec mes salons, avec mes salons, avec mes salons. Là où les cambiar. Beautiful nation, beautiful country. Oh, I like this salon. Oh, oh. Beautiful people, beautiful culture. Oh, I like this salon. Oh, oh. Sweet, sweet, sweet salon. Sweet salon. Oh, I like this salon. Sweet, sweet, sweet salon. Sweet salon. Oh, I like this salon. Oh, I like this salon. That's my country. That's sweet country. Only we unite, if only we can love one another, if only you can change your attitude. East, west, north, and south, let we like we stop and let's really back to you. Let we like we stand. Beautiful nation, beautiful country. Oh, I like this alone. Oh, oh, beautiful people. Beautiful culture. Oh, I like this salon. Oh, oh. Sweet, sweet, sweet salon. Sweet salon. Oh, I like this salon. Sweet, sweet, sweet salon. Sweet salon. Oh, I like this salon. Oh, I like this salon. I love my country, and I'll never be disloyal. No matter where I go, I'll always honor you. Now every time I go,
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah.